Good morning, people. So, how was the party last night? Yeah? If I could remember anything, I would say the same. But I went out for dinner with some people and they decided to buy a bottle of whiskey because it was a bring your own booze place, not a bring your own device, but bad idea. But I'm here, I made it, so let's take a look at what we are going to cover today. So the name of the session, Bring Your Own Device, Your Complete Do-It-Yourself Kit. The idea is, if you guys haven't watched it or if you guys were not at the previous BriForum, Chicago or London, I gave 2 presentations. The first one was in London, the second one here. They were about bring your own computer, bring your own device. So on the first one, we covered like the more of the legal aspects that most people don't even realize they exist. They just start bringing stuff to the office or the company, even worse, the company starts giving them money. Okay, go ahead and buy this. And then they bring back to the office and something happens and no one ever thought about all the legal implications and possibilities. So that was the one in London. We even brought a lawyer on stage, so it was a good presentation. First time a lawyer presented for free, probably. That was a big challenge, to make a lawyer work at no cost. And then we brought the presentation to the US, to Chicago, and of course adjusting for the local laws, regulations, whatever. This one picks up where these 2 left. So the idea here is, I'll just give you a very quick overview of the bring your own device thing, and I will cover what we think it's the basic foundation, what you have to understand to look at a bring your own device model, the models, because we have models for these things, okay? And then I'll show you some tools that were actually, written for this particular case that will help you with your own, BYOD implementation. So the idea is, after you leave this session, you're going to have an understanding of the foundations, where you need to be at, and you're going to have a set of materials that you can bring back to your company and run an assessment, and the assessment is going to spit out like something that you can paste into the Word document that you're going to have. I even have like a remote wipe waiver. So pretty cool, you make your user sign. If you bring something, we have the right to wipe it. So everything is on the kit. Okay, so that's the idea of the session. And make sure you get my information, because the kit itself, due to some copyright issues, I cannot simply post, somewhere. So to get the kit, to get the zip file with the assessment, the templates, and so on, you're going to have to contact me, okay? I'm not doing this because I like you. I'm doing this because I don't like lawyers, okay? So just keep that in mind. So send me an email, send me a Twitter, whatever, and I'll make sure you get hold of the kit. Sounds good? So what are we going to cover? As I said, a quick overview on what is BYOD. And then, as I said, the foundation of BYOD lies into what we call the 4 pillars of capability. And that's what I will be explaining. And then based on that, you're going to see what we call the BYOD models. Okay? It's how you are on these 4 pillars. Your company is, not you. The BYOD models, as I said, 4 models. Again, this is not like, set in stone or anything. It's just something that I think it makes sense. If you disagree, if you want to create a 5th model, that's fine with me, okay? So I'm just passing my experience with BYOD. And then you're going to have the kit. I'll show you the kit because it's pretty cool. Then, of course, a conclusion. I hope to conclude something. And then questions and answers in case you have any questions. So before we start, anyone doing BYO something officially? Doing? Okay, officially doing a couple. And how many of you probably know you are doing without knowing? Meaning, okay, yeah. Users are sneaking in with stuff. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I was reading like Brian's Twitters. In another presentation, someone mentioned users started bringing, Ethernet over power line kits to the office to create like bridges, like crazy shit. Like, man, you need to put like metal detectors at the office so people don't bring anything. So what is it? Again, it depends who you ask, okay? And first of all, there is a big difference between bring your own device and buy. My experience talking, to all these large companies that either implemented or tried to implement, it was really more towards like a buy your own device. And why was that? Well, because they didn't want to have to support like any sort of thing that people decided to bring to the office. So at least they gave people like options, maybe 10 different hardware models or vendors, whatever, and they set some rules. Oh, you need to buy with a 3-year warranty, with a support, 4-hour replacement, whatever it was. And then they gave them money, and they bought whatever they wanted. Okay, so it's more like buy than really bring. Okay, and the other funny thing is, we were all kids, right? So when you go play with other kids and the other kid brings a better toy, you get pissed. It's the same thing at the office, man. Like if you let people bring anything, you're gonna have fights at the office. It's the same thing when you like, for example, you bring a new user in and the guy just started, so of course you may have bought hardware like last week. So you have like the shiny laptop, whatever, and you give to that user. Half of the floor is going to start bitching he has the fancy, fast laptop. So it's the same thing. That's why the buy, it's usually a better political move. You give them the option, they buy whatever. If they complain, well, you bought it. So, go complain to your mom. Don't come here. That's one of the benefits of BYOD, you don't have to support the users in that way. And again, as I said, some people will try to bring a DOS-based laptop if they have one, guaranteed. So make sure you do a buy. If you ask management, they're going to say, yes, BYOD means, or BYOC means bring your own computer, bring your own PC. That's cool. And then you go to IT, they will say, oh, it's bring your own crap or piece of shit or whatever. So IT really doesn't like the idea of BYOD most of the time, okay? What in a way it's very funny because IT is the first group that goes out and buys the latest and shiniest toy and brings to the office. So it's very weird, they bash the users, oh, you cannot bring, but they are carrying like the iPad 4, So very odd. And again, as I said, it's based on 4 pillars. And that's why I asked it, how many of you know you are doing it without doing it officially, because people are bringing stuff to the office? No matter what, you are going to have to do it. It's just a matter of having to support. People will start bringing stuff to the office. Before, no problem, hardware was way more expensive, way less choices, and so on. Today, you go to buy a phone, they have 5 carriers, each carrier has 50 models. So you have 250 devices to choose from. So what should take 5 minutes to buy now takes 5 days. So it's just too much stuff available, people will bring it. And of course, they will compare to what they have at the office. If they can buy a MacBook Air with SSD for $1,000, and you make them suffer at the office with like a Windows XP PC, they're gonna complain. Or they're gonna simply, screw that, I'll bring the MacBook. So again, it's not a matter of if you approve it, if you wanna do it or not, you are doing it, okay? Just keep that in mind with BYOD. Any questions here? So let's take a look at the 4 pillars of BYOD. So the reality is, with BYOD, what you are trying or what you are doing at the end of the day is really creating a model for, a desktop as a service solution. And by desktop, I don't mean like you're gonna have VMs running Windows 7 or anything. By desktop, I mean what a desktop provides in terms of functionality to the user, meaning their applications. That's the bottom line. So desktop as a service should be more like, your apps as a service. It's to create that independence between endpoint and what they need to run, okay? So that's what we all try to achieve. It could be a little bit of VDI, we could do a little bit of application virtualization, we could set up a website with an app or hire someone to develop an iOS application so they can run natively on their iPads. But that's the bottom line. You're trying to give access to the corporate resources, corporate data, corporate applications. And of course, once you try to deploy that model, that enables the bring your own, okay? Because if now I have everything ready to roll, people can connect from anywhere, from anything, well, now they can bring anything to the office, okay? Of course, I'm not talking about like security implications and all that. That's a different, story. But once you have all your corporate data, apps accessible from anywhere, from any device, well, then you can bring your own stuff. Okay, so that's the idea. So what are the 4 pillars here? The first one, infrastructure. Second, operations and support. Then my policies. And finally, my security. So the idea of the models, what you're going to see, and the idea of the kit itself is very simple. Once you go through the assessment tool, what is going to happen is you're going to see 4 sliders, one on each pillar, showing you where you stand at, okay? If you see everything at the bottom here, it means, you should look for a new job. If you see everything at the top, it means you spent way too much money, okay? So the idea is to show you where you are going to have, based on the model that you choose, on what you are trying to achieve, show you where you are lacking or where you need to invest more resources, more money, whatever it is. For example, if you are trying to virtualize every single desktop in your company, but you don't even have a hypervisor running anywhere, this is going to be at the bottom. Okay? So that's the idea. So let's take a look at each of them. Again, based on your requirements, on what you are trying to achieve, you are going to have to develop capabilities on all 4 pillars. Some, if you are like in the Medicare, in the healthcare industry, because of regulations, for example, you may have to heavily invest on the security side of things to make sure the data is secure, to make sure you have the tools to guarantee compliance. Okay? But if you are not in the healthcare industry, or if you don't care about your data really, you may have to spend less on the security. And the spending, it's not necessarily tied to money. I mean effort-wise. Okay? And once you do that, what you are trying to do is to cover the three main objectives of a desktop as a service. The first one, basically reduce complexity with your endpoints and make sure the endpoint is not something that ties you into a particular solution. It becomes agnostic. Whatever you bring it, it works. So you want to reduce cost. You don't buy, tons of devices that may be, obsolete and people may hate it. It's less complex because you don't have to buy the device and then image the device to the corporate standard and all that and patch and so on. You don't have to deploy anything because if you have a DAS model, it's already on the data center. Everything is ready to roll. And you don't have to manage, really, the endpoints. Because all you care is, can you connect to your data center? Can you connect to your corporate network? Yes, if you can, you're good to go. The other thing you want to achieve is to have way faster methodology to deliver whatever you have in your company to your end users, to your endpoints. So more agile app deployment and accessibility. And of course, this is pretty much obvious. If I have everything already set up on the back end and it's ready to roll, if I hire 100 people tomorrow and they show up with 100 laptops, all I need is, just hit this website, you're going to have something, some clients, some software that you need to access our network, and you're ready to roll. So you just want to become more agile. And of course, you want to make sure your digital assets, your corporate data, your information, it's protected as you go through the first two. Okay? Keeping security in mind. So these are the three main objectives. And that's what the 4 pillars are going to allow you to achieve. So infrastructure, the first one. Basically, it's your virtualization efforts, your server capacity, network bandwidth, storage. Again, it's your infrastructure. So this is pretty obvious. Like if you are trying to virtualize everything and you don't even have enough servers to do it, well, I need to work on my infrastructure pillar first to bring it to a certain level, and then I will be able to implement a BYOD model. If I don't have the storage, well, I don't even, all we have is a little NAS box at the office. Well, it's not going to work. Or you have a 10 megabit pipe to the outside and you are trying to support 1,000 people. It's not going to work either. So keep in mind what you have to do on your infrastructure side. Operations. How you deal with support, like first line support or third party support. Like if I give the users new laptops that I gave them the money, they bought it. Okay, what happens if it breaks? How are we going to deal with that? Are we going to have some basic models out of the list that we gave to the users at the office so they can quickly, exchange while theirs get repaired? How we're going to deal with the first line support? Are we just going to support the connection between the device and our network? Are we going to have some sort of self-support available for the users? If they lose something, if they can't do something, can they go to a portal and we start some sort of self-support process? So you need to think about your operations. Policies. This one is pretty big, and that's why I mentioned the 2 previous BYOD sessions that we had. Most people don't realize, but there are several, like HR, legal, IT, several implications here. And that shows you that BYOD is not really an IT effort. It's a company-wide effort. If you want to be successful, you have to engage every single department within your company. It's not you IT guys come up with a bunch of VMs and RDS and we are good to go. And then we give people laptops. No, it doesn't work like that. There are all the HR implications, like, okay, if I give the guy money and he leaves a week later, or he just joined the company to get the money, so he can leave and join another company and get more money and leave again, what do? Are we going to get the money back? Are we going to make him pay back in 6 months? How does it work? So that's one HR implication. Legal. Well, the guy is running his own laptop. And now the guy asks you, you are the manager. So he asks you, well, which tool do you recommend? I have been using this one, on my laptop, and it's pretty cool, seems to do the job. And you tell him, that's a good tool. You can keep using it. And the tool was a freeware of some sorts that if you use in a corporate environment, you have to pay. So now the user is violating the EULA. And with your blessing, because you just told him to use the tool. So what happens legally? If someone goes to court and tries to, audits you and makes you pay for the licenses. Is the user liable? Is the company liable? So you have to get legal advice for sure. Finance, same thing. Like if we give money, how is it better to do it? Do we give the whole money and the user makes sure, he declares the money when he does his taxes and then he pays whatever part of the money to the government? Or do we pre-tax? There are several implications, from a money perspective. So you need to talk to your finance guys, big time. And of course IT, because IT doesn't like BYOD, so you have to talk to them. Because if you don't have their buy-in, that's it. And security, of course. What do I have in place? Do I have some sort of network access control available? Am I using some two-factor, whatever, authentication or not? Do I need to use it? Am I encrypting anything? Because now if I give, access to the users and they bring their laptops to the office, am I going to allow them to save data locally? And if they do, is that data encrypted? Can I remote wipe that data and so on? So there are several security implications. Okay? The good thing that I saw over the years with the BYOD is, and you guys, how many of you are IT? Okay, so several. From a technical standpoint, whatever, crap people can tell you, no, this is not going to work, there is always a solution. There is a solution, period. You can, security, the user is going to bring his laptop all, full of whatever. Well, put him on a separate network. Only give access through one port from that network. There is a solution. There is always a technical solution. The main question is, are you willing to implement something? Or, I work a lot with the government, and government people, they usually, they don't like to work. So, you ask them, I'm not kidding. Sometimes I'm working with some people and I ask, man, I just need you to open a port on a firewall. And they make me, fill up a form and they ask 6 weeks. Like, what fucking firewall do you have? Like 6 weeks? Do you change the rules in binary? Like, shit. So, it's a big problem. But again, there is always a solution from a technical standpoint. Always. Okay? If you are willing to, do your work and fix it. So don't let security be, a showstopper for your BYOD efforts. because it's not, honestly. So here, I just want to show you some examples, okay? So we have this particular one. I'll just show you the use case here, because I put on the notes, because they're pretty big. So users coming to work, they want to bring their iPads, but IT is saying, oh no, forget it, man, like, iPad is crap, we hate you. Don't bring anything to work, or we're going to beat you up. So infrastructure, it's an environment that is, very traditional. It's in the fat client model, pretty much. So client-server apps. So it means there is no infrastructure, really. I mean, not for this particular model. They have an infrastructure in place, but not one that is suitable to start a BYOD off the bat. Policies. The only thing they have at their company is like, oh yeah, if you are a contractor and you come from outside, then we have a set of policies that you follow. Operation support. They don't have anything other than the traditional break and fix support, and you have issues with our apps, you call the help desk. And security, they just have the basic, VPN functionality, for example. So in this particular example, IT is not buying in, management doesn't care, users are trying to sneak in, you don't have any of the infrastructure required, you never thought about the policies, you never discussed it with HR, finance, or anything. So here you are at the bottom on the 4 pillars. So in this particular case, is it recommended for you to go and implement a BYOC, BYOD? Well, unless you put some effort on all these guys, no. It will be pretty tough unless you put a lot of effort. So this is one example. So is it clear, like the way the models work, or the idea of the models of the assessment? It's really to assess where you are on each of these 4, and then you get the idea where you need to put more effort. So the next one. This one, the C-level guys, they are coming to IT and they are telling them, I just bought this iPad last night and I want to use it. So that's another funny thing. IT usually, they have like 2 faces, the 2 faces of IT. And I experienced that like first time, well, several times actually, again, working with the government. I remember one meeting I was in with the IT people, the IT manager, IT everything, IT director. And they were all bragging like, yeah, here, it's our way or the highway. And I'm like, oh, tough guys. And they were telling me, oh, we only support these printers, we only support these things, and if users bring stuff in, we just tell them, shove it up and leave the room. And as they were telling me all these stories, how tough they were, someone walks in, because the person knew I was there to do the work with them. It was a nice lady, and she comes to me, hey, Cláudio, nice to see you here, blah, blah, blah. And it was the CEO of the company. And as she walks in, she goes like right outside of the room, and she comes back in with a Lexmark printer. Like a really crappy one. I don't know why a CEO would buy a crappy Lexmark, but she did it anyway. And then she tells the IT guys, oh, I just bought this at Best Buy last night, and I want to make it work with our Citrix. I need to print. And they are all like, oh yeah, we support anything. Like whatever you bring, like fine. So again, it's coming from the top. So that's why IT has 2 faces. If it's the CEO, they never say no. So here it's this example. C-level guys are coming to the office and they want to deploy. Infrastructure. In this example, you already have some sort of, let's say, Citrix Zen app, or VMware View, or virtual servers, like all your servers are virtualized. So you have a hypervisor layer deployed. You have some stuff centralized, as I said, either VMware View, Zen Desktop, Zen App, RDS, whatever it is. So your infrastructure is already decent. And policy-wise, because of the fact that you are giving people remote access, let's say from home, you already laid down some rules. And you talk it to, HR, for example, or you talk it to the legal department. Oh, they're going to be saving data, and what happens, content they will be creating from home, who owns the content and all that. So you did some work on the policy side of things. Operations and support, because of the fact you have, let's say, a VMware View up and running here and people connect remotely from any device, you already have the mechanisms in place to support these people, meaning you almost don't care what they are running on the endpoint. You already have the methodology to support them in place. And security, well, because of the fact you have the infrastructure here that is accessible from the outside, from any device, you already put some effort here. You do your scans, who can connect. If they connect from a remote office, you let them, for example, save data. If they connect from home, you let them view the data, but you don't let them save the data. So you did a lot of work on the security side already. So in this case, BYOC, now a wide open BYOC program, if IT is not buying in, it may not be desired, but it can be done. Because you have it. You have the resources. Your pillars are pretty solid or strong. So in this case, you could pull it off. So just another example. And again, once you lay down like the foundation, once you work on your 4 pillars, most of the concerns and questions that will, of course, arise, they will be automatically addressed. For example, if you worked on all the security and you implemented a multi-factor authentication, you have a very good access control policy. Who can access what they can access, from where they can access, and again, you change rules based on location and so on. So all the security side, you address it. So if someone raises any concern, oh, what if the users do this? Well, we already took care of that particular issue because we have all these policies on the security side. Okay, the idea is, again, once you go through the 4 pillars, most of the concerns will be automatically addressed. Is it clear? As I said, it's like you're going to have all sorts of questions like security. People are going to ask you, oh, what about the applications? Who is going to install the applications on the user's BYOC devices? Well, no one, because you just centralize the applications. So you're not going to install anything. Who's going to support it? Well, you support the applications at the office, so you're going to keep supporting the applications. Okay? BYOC is not, offshoring support. That's not the point. So now that you have the idea of the foundation, the pillars, let's take a look at the models. There are 4 models, according to, to me, okay? If you don't like the models, we can change them, we can add more models. But 4 models, I think it covers pretty much all the possibilities. So the first one, it's what we call your BYO Lite. And what is the idea of this model? That's probably what most people usually are doing without knowing, okay? And it's a model where users are really just consuming information. So they try to bring their whatever, their iPads, their iPhone, their Android, their laptop. For what? For just viewing, data that you make it available on the corporate portal, for example, on the internet. They log on to a web page and then they have data. So they're just consuming a little bit of data. They're not creating any data. Just checking information, for example. And of course, in this model, the main concern is data security. Because depending on what you make available, then you are concerned about, okay, if I give them access to files and now they can download these files locally, now what happens? How do I make sure these files are secure? If he loses the device, then what? And as you can see on the 4 pillars here for this particular model, the idea is security is a big concern in this model. So you're going to have, if you're going to go BYO light, you're going to have to work a lot on your security. Because again, if you're going to let people do whatever they want with the data, you need to heavily work on the security side of things, for sure. But then if they are just bringing their devices just to consume data through a web page or a shared, a corporate Dropbox-like solution, whatever it is, well, you don't have to do a lot on the infrastructure side. They're not running virtual desktops. They're not running RDS, session host or anything like that. So you're not really putting a stress on your infrastructure side. You don't need to care about bandwidth, about IOPS and stuff like that. A little bit on the policy, because again, when there is data going back and forth like a non-corporate device and the corporate data center, there are policies that have to be in place. You have to talk to legal, you have to talk to HR and so on. And operations support, it's not a huge deal, because again, they're just consuming data from whatever external entry points you have on your network. Well, that's the BYO Lite. Does it make sense? Do you guys see this model? That's probably how everything starts, I'm pretty sure. People they just want to see the data, then they start thinking about, oh, what if I could, now do this? That's when you start shifting towards the other 3 models. Next one, the virtualized model. That's the one that most people, when they decided, to really go for BYOC, BYOD, the first model that comes to their mind is this one. And it's not necessarily a good model, and we're going to see why. So what is the virtualized model? Well, you are heavily thinking about or investing on technologies like desktop virtualization. So you are trying basically to build a data center running every single Windows, VM to cover every single user in the company. So you have like 3,000 PCs, you are going from 3,000 PCs to 3,000 VMs. Okay? Big effort for sure. And you are trying to do at the same time maybe application virtualization. You want to introduce at the same time VMware View plus Finstall plus something. Bad idea. Start with one, then you start adding more later. And in this model, you want to have, of course, some sort of line capabilities. Because, of course, if you go like full data center only access, then what do your users do when they cannot connect, when there is no connectivity? So you have to think about that. Do you want your users to work when there is no connection? I guess you want, right? That's why you gave them BlackBerries in the first place, to become slaves from the company. They are like at night watching the game and on their BlackBerries, replying to emails. They became slaves and they don't even know. That's awesome. Oh, too bad the BlackBerries are dying. So in this particular model, what happens? Well, on the infrastructure side, if you're trying to virtualize 3,000 desktops, man, you're going to have to buy a lot of shit, big time. Okay? That's why, which companies adopt this sort of model? Well, I know two that adopted and very successfully. Citrix and VMware. Why? Well, if I don't have to buy Citrix or VMware license, man, fuck, I'll go and deploy it. Just here, I'm going to save like $10 billion. So big here. You need to make sure you have IOPS, you need to make sure you have the bandwidth, you need to make sure you have the server capacity, all the license and so on, heavy on the infrastructure. And security, in this particular model, if you want offline capabilities, and it's of course a very desirable feature, you need to make sure it's encrypted, it's secure. So you're going to have to work your way up on the security pillar for sure. Policy, of course, for the same reasons as the other ones. There is data that is now on non-corporate devices. And operations support, it's if you are centralizing, operations support gets, streamlined. It's not that hard. It's much better than having to deal, with every single device out there and variations, and people screw up their PCs, and much easier in this model. So you don't have to do a lot of work on the operations support side. Make sense? Is this what you guys are aiming for? Most of the guys I talk to that are considering BYOD, they usually are going towards a virtual something solution. Not the case with you guys? No? Some? Okay, that's a good answer. And that's why there's a model that is the SUM model. There's just a different name. That's probably the model everyone at the end of the day will deliver. It's not this guy. The integrated model, before I go to the next one that is the SUM model, there is the integrated model. What do we do on the integrated model? We force all the applications people may need access to be locally installed or locally run on the device. So if I give you money for a laptop, you buy the laptop, but then I find a way to dump whatever corporate apps you may need directly into that device. And then, of course, as he's using his own device, he probably has his own stuff on the device. But now, as he has corporate apps pushed to the device, he also has corporate data on the device. Yes, if you're crazy, that's a very good model. Okay? It's the bring your own resume model. If you deploy, you know what is going to happen. So here, the idea is, I've seen people trying to do this. And why? Well, infrastructure. Some people are like, oh, no way we are going to buy, all these Zen desktop licenses at $600 each. Just give them like a $600 laptop, and then we push all sorts of crap to the laptop. So you save huge on the infrastructure. But then, can you imagine like having corporate apps on the laptop that is also running iTunes or whatever? You're going to go nuts with the operations and support, for sure. It's going to be crazy because you don't know what the guy has on his device, potential conflicts, and he starts uninstalling crap, and then that crap breaks some other application. Really, really crazy. And then policy. Well, policy is going to be challenging. Can you imagine telling your legal department, oh yeah, people are bringing their laptops full of MP3s they downloaded illegally and porn to the office. Oh, interesting. I don't think your legal department is going to like that. So you are going to have to do a lot of work on the policy side, big time. If you can pull it off, I don't think you will be able to pull it off from a legal perspective. And security, you know, if they can bring their stuff, you're pushing stuff and dumping data, well, you probably don't care about security, so you don't need to do much on the security side. It's like Wild West. That's awesome. So good model, you like it? Oh, I like it, it's fun, you know. Yeah, they like it. I like it too. I never deployed, but I like it. Customers that I don't like, I suggest this one. Tell them, yeah, go for it. It's really good. So the final model here, it's what we call hybrid. And that's why I said it's the sum model. The idea of the hybrid model is to, well, leverage the best of every single model of the previous three models. And at the end of the day, it has to be some sort of mixed model. Because again, if you go completely virtualized, then you have the challenge of the offline access. But you may also want to have offline access, but controlling the application in use when offline. So you probably can do something like, when you are online, you connect to Zen app, Zen desktop, and then you work. When you are offline, we have virtual applications. In case you are Windows, we can push virtual apps, so we don't screw up your system. We have control, we can set like a time bomb on the application. After 30 days, without going back to the office, you have no access to the app, for example. Yeah, because if a user doesn't show up at the office for 30 days, I think you don't have an employee anymore, probably. And if you wanna, it's a Mac, it's whatever, that we don't have a way to push a virtualized application, well, then you can do like Mocha 5. You can push a VM, a local VM, and he can still access and you can still have control on that environment, full control. So that's why I see more people doing a hybrid model really, because you need to cover all the scenarios, online, offline, okay, and then you can have a way to control. The drawback with this model is, well, each other model has issues. So this, depending how it's implemented, you could end up with the worst of all. So you got all the terrible features and you implement it. One example, well, let's say you are going to go hybrid, but then instead of using application virtualization, you actually decide to install the application on the endpoint. Well, then you're going to have all the support issues. You may break the device, you don't want to go there. So the idea with the hybrid is look at what each model has its best and combine the best. Don't combine the worst. Otherwise, you're going to have a terrible model. So that's the idea of the hybrid. The hybrid, of course, if I don't have to support everything on the back end, if I'm offloading some to the local device to cover the offline use case, for example, I don't need as much on the infrastructure side. On the operation support, again, if you get the best of every single model, at the end of the day, it's going to be very easy. Because it's either centralized or when they are offline, it's, let's say, a virtualized environment, virtual application, or a complete VM, for example, that you have full control. So no big deal to support it. You're going to have to, of course, work on your support pillar to get everything sorted out, but it's not a massive effort here. because you have control and you are not trying to touch the endpoints, okay? Policy, well, you have to work a lot with the policies, of course, because now people will have offline capabilities, for example, on the hybrid model. So there will be corporate data. They will be bringing their device and connecting to the corporate network. So you have to work with IT, with HR, with legal. You are given the device. You have to work with HR. As I said, if you fire the guy, give him the money back. So there is a lot of work on the policy side, for sure. Security, well, security is in a certain way, you will start off a good base, because if you have a virtual environment on the infrastructure side, you are already centralizing some stuff, and of course you probably have all sorts of control mechanisms to that environment. If it's a Citrix, you may have like a NetScaler that does scanning and filtering, so you are covered. So not a lot of effort has to be put towards a hybrid model. Is it clear here? Yeah? Do you see a fifth model? No? Do you agree with the 4 models? That's good. Yeah, you see, drinking last night helped. I finished a little bit of this presentation last night. Yeah. The last. Yeah, no, it was after, The lesson here is drink before you do your presentation. Okay. New ideas, come. It's amazing. Not that I remember working on the presentation, but it's here, so someone worked on the presentation. So let's take a look at the kit, okay? So I'll switch to Excel, because of course the main assessment is on Excel. It's pretty cool. Well, let's cover this slide first. It is guaranteed the coolest shit at BriForum. You're not gonna see any other presentation that gives you a kit like this. Did you get anything from the other presenters? You see? Bastards. Okay, what do we have on the kit? We have a readiness assessment tool. That's the Excel file that I'll show you. With that, it comes a bunch of templates, Word templates, okay? So we have a strategy position template, so it's more like for management. You run this tool. The idea is you run this guy is gonna spit out that fancy 4-pillar diagram showing where you stand in terms of capabilities, some fancy text, and then you can just copy and paste into this guy, change company names, add your name at the bottom, and you look great, okay? You may even get like a raise by using this kit. You can send me some in case you get, And then acceptable use policy. There is a template for that. As I said, the wipe waiver, it's all that on the kit. And of course, I didn't make all these myself, okay? There's another company in Canada. By the way, I'm from Canada. It's Infotech. So Infotech created this content, and I have been talking to them, for several years. And they told me, yeah, Cláudio, you can, go talk at BriForum and give people the kit, and that's fine with us. It's really cool stuff. So let's take a look. Let me try to open Excel on the second monitor. Oh, it maximizes. Okay, good. Okay, let's see. Okay, introduction. Here, just first tab, you have what we just discussed, like the 4 pillars, some description, the models, description of the models. Let me just change my laptop, put it this way, so I can actually see what is on the screen. Perfect. Jeez. Yeah, basically a quick description on the models and showing the pillars, okay? When you switch to the second one, to the data entry, that's where you're going to start answering questions about a possible BYOC, about your company, your goals, and so on, your infrastructure capabilities. So all you do is you go through all the questions, just click here, and then you answer. Okay? So like, how is your desktop virtualization efforts? Oh, we are ready to go, or we have some capability. My server virtualization, maybe you have, like many companies that I deal with, they start with server virtualization, they have everything virtualized, now they're considering desktop virtualization, presentation virtualization. So you go here and you click. Yeah, we're ready to go. We have all the knowledge on server virtualization. And then cloud and web applications. So it asks you, do you access like Salesforce, for example? Do you do Google Docs? So you select something. So little. Then it goes through the security capabilities. Then your operations and support. So basically it goes through the 4 pillars. Okay? Just asking you general questions on each of the pillars. And what it does, once you answer all the questions, it spits out a nice graph here, you see, really fancy, with a percentage. So basically shows you on each pillar where you stand at. And of course, it has a description of what is there, okay? And gives you a nice score and the overall advice. So that's what you go then, copy, paste into the template, and it looks awesome. Okay? It's not perfect, of course, because each place is different, but the idea is it does cover, if you take a look at the data entry, it does cover a lot of the stuff that you're going to see pretty much everywhere. Okay? And as I said, if you change whatever, you're going to see, let's see this question. Mobile device. Do policies exist to use mobile devices? Do you have any policies with mobile device? Well, maybe you have BlackBerry, so you have like an MDM solution built in, right? So yeah, I have some. Encryption. Do you have a clear policy to address regulations, industry, company-specific requirements for data encryption? Yeah, we have some. Or no, we don't give a crap about, security and encryption. Yeah, no, we don't have. But be honest, okay, with your answers. Don't try to look good, to your boss. Just be honest. Like, do you actually have that in place? Termination. Do you have any policy when the guy is fired? Yeah, we have some. Here we have, substantial. And as I said, like as you go through the questions, it changes the results. Okay? Does it look good? Yeah? Useful? It's a good, I liked it too because as you saw, it's not a technical tool. It's really something for management, for decision makers, okay? So that's why I like it. Because at the bottom, at the end of the day, if the decision makers, the guy signing the checks, if he doesn't buy in, if he doesn't approve, well, it doesn't matter, your IT director loved the solution. Is he the one paying for it? If he's not and the guy paying doesn't like it, well, you're screwed. So that's pretty good. Well, let's take a look at some of the other tools as well. Well, not the tools, the templates. What time do we finish? Oh, that's a lot of time. So this is the big one that you are gonna use with the Excel file. Some instructions on how to use it, some guidelines. As I said, the idea is you run the tool, and even, we added some, remember to delete this, okay? So, you have your executive summary, the benefits, the assessment. The assessment, it's basically, as I said, you're gonna go through the tool, and once you get the results from the tool, you're gonna paste it here. So where you stand, the investment, there is a link for a TCO calculator. So once you go through the tools, you're ready to roll. And of course, we have several other documents here, in case you don't have them. Acceptable use policy. What is it? Where it's applicable? Responsibilities. Stipend guidelines, for example. Access control, security. It's all there. Make your users sign it. Manager, everyone. That's why I said it. It's really a kit, a ready-to-use kit. And where's the wipe your device? Oh, this one. This one is cool too. So basically this is just to tell your user, we can do anything with you. Just make them sign and you're good. So all these I added to a zipped file, and that's what I'm giving to you guys. Again, I'll try, see if it's possible for me to post on my site, hidden from everyone. But then just give you the URL, or in the meantime, just send me an email, Twitter, whatever, let me know, and I'll give you the file. It's a small one. Go back to the presentation. So do you like the tools? Looks cool? So conclusion here. Well, at the end of this presentation, as I said, we now have the foundations, the 4 pillars laid down. So now you understand what you have to work with. You have the models. Now you understand about the models, the 4 models. Pick the one that makes more sense for your company. It's usually, again, based on our experience, it's usually a hybrid model for sure. Use the assessment tool. Very, very interesting, to see the results. And it's good because, as I said, it's not a technical tool. It's a tool that you can actually work with C-level people, go to the legal department, talk to them, get answers from them, talk to the IT guys regarding security policies, talk to HR regarding termination policies. So it is a tool that will get all groups inside your company involved. What is critical for any BYOD, implementation.
How long has the toolkit been around, and how has it changed over time with the changes in technology?
Well, the tool tries to be. First of all, I always joke about the changes in technology, because the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about that is, now we have much faster, much better, much whatever. Okay, so we may think that the way technology is evolving, that changes certain things. Well, it doesn't at the end of the day. And why I say that, the typical example that I give people is, I have at home. So if you don't have it, I can show you one day. I'll probably post on YouTube. If you have an old laptop that was running Windows 2000 and Office 2000 at the time, that you bought brand new, it was the fanciest laptop. If you get a stopwatch and you time how long it takes to boot Windows 2000 and load Office 2000, it's exactly the same time that takes Windows 8 to boot and launch Office 13. So that's Cláudio's law, okay? That's my law. It's constant. So it doesn't matter. The laptop is like 100 million times faster. We have SSDs, and fucking Windows still takes a minute to boot. So what is going on, people? Well, the answer is, when you have a framework like .NET, .NET 5, for example, it will come on its own hard drive. Probably, like a terabyte hard drive, just for the framework. So the answer to this is, the tool is very independent or agnostic in terms of technology changes. Because technology evolves, but requirements also, they evolve with the technology changes. So whatever, and answering, it is old? No, it's not. It was done, in the past year and a half, so it's relatively new. And again, it was tried to be done in a way that is not tied to any, technology, or that if technology evolves, we know the requirements will evolve, so we stay away from that, okay? Okay. Well, we saw it. Use the assessment too. Any questions? If not, I will leave and drink it. Yes, of course. Yeah, but if you go on their website, then you need to register it, and they only allow like 5 downloads, whatever it is. Okay, the email address here. So no questions? One question here.
What do you think of companies that implement BYOD or BYOC or whatever you want to call it, based on that they're going to get an ROI on it? I mean, is that viable in your experience, or is that just not going to happen? You're not going to make money, I guess, implementing BYO.
It's a very good question. So the question, if you didn't hear, is if we saw companies getting return on their investment when they implemented BYOD, did they save money? Okay, so it's really from a money perspective. Was it worth the effort? The answer to this is like any other technology. You have good ways of doing, and you have terrible ways of doing it. It's like anything else. Okay? So when you do it properly and you take, again, if you look from a much broader perspective, seeing BYOD as a company-wide effort and you get everyone involved and everyone buying in, it can actually save you money. But the problem is most of the companies that I have dealt with, they tried at first kind of like ignoring some departments. Oh yeah, we don't need to talk to legal, they are a pain in the butt. Well, then down the road something went wrong and they got screwed because of the fact they didn't get the buy-in from legal. They didn't talk to legal. They didn't even know what was, on the table from a legal perspective. So again, if you do it properly and you get everyone involved, chances are you are going to get your money back for sure. Okay? And the user satisfaction when it's done properly, like, man, it's cool. If you care about your users, like, I don't, but.
So, first of all, thanks for putting the methodology together because I think not many people have tried to do that.
No problem.
I'm very curious about containers, NPM, and where these fit in this model.
Which one?
Containers and containerization of local applications and Django, NPM, and NPM. I might have missed the beginning of the presentation, so not sure if I'd be curious to know why it fits in the model.
Well, we briefly discussed it, like on a hybrid model, the idea of like the containers, either like a full VM container or application containers, they usually are tied to like a hybrid model, okay? And I gave examples like either virtualization of apps or the Mocha 5 guys. John was sitting right here. No, he's right there. So that's one of the solutions that covers all that you just mentioned, MDM included.
Yeah, so what about the enterprise, or if it's more of a mobile solution, but kind of like the idea of not necessarily virtualizing all the integrated solution, but kind of keeping the organic experience that the user might be interested in, and actually letting them be happy, yet protecting the data and in some ways the access to corporate resources.
Yeah, we didn't cover necessarily here, but I can take it offline with you. There are several ways of doing for sure.
Cláudio,
Yeah?
can I plug my session for that?
Go ahead. Jack is right there.
That's exactly what I'm going to talk about at 2:10 this afternoon. Also, Brian has covered that some at 11:40.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Any other questions? Jack is here to answer questions too. Okay, no more questions. That's awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Again, send me an email and I'll get you the kit, okay? Thank you.